Beads, join me in making this beautiful golden ginkgo pendant. Remember, if you need any materials like the Potomac metal ginkgos, you can click on the link below and shop with us online. So to begin with the golden ginkgo pendant, here you can see I've used it in the glass ginkgo in the white red luster, and I'm going to be using the gold color, this beautiful, beautiful rose gold color in the design that we're doing together. I'm going to start by separating out my ginkgo bead here, and my ginkgo bead I'm going to string basically from the bottom towards the top using some 11 O's in the Miyuki galvanized apricot, also a nice kind of bright golden color. And I'm going to go up through the top of the ginkgo and just holding the bottom of the thread, and I have some 0.006 gray wildfire thread, leaving myself about 2 to 3 inches. I'm going to hold right there. Coming out the top of the ginkgo, add 3 of your 11 O seed beads and go down through the other side of the ginkgo. When I'm done with this here, those 3 little seed beads will pop right up along the top. Grab a round duo mini and do the same thing again, going up through that ginkgo bead, coming out through the top, adding my 3 beads, and then down through that ginkgo bead again. Once you're doing that, you want to repeat this a series of 7 times, and then we're going to circle it up and make it into our rounded form. Once you're done with your series of 7, meaning you're ending with one of your round duo minis, you're going to take that starter thread and tie these 2 ends together in a knot. If you wanted to do a stop bead, you could have had a stop bead on here. I find it easiest to tie it in a knot. But then what we are going to do is take our needle and thread away from that knot. So you're going to notice that these are kind of flipping around. Do not fear, that will be taken care of. I'm going to take the needle and thread to get into the next position and go through my first gecko, up through those seed beads, down through the gecko, and then I'll get ready to start the next layer of the design. The reason I bring the needle there is rather than starting right at the knot, I want to get away from the knot as I do my second rotation, adding in more beads. At this point, we are going to go from that top hole of the round duo, and I'll take my thread and needle through it, and I am using the Crystal Lab Full Round Duo Mini. And I'm going to downgrade to that second hole. The second hole is actually going to be the interior hole that I use in the design. We're going to ignore the geckos now, and we're going to connect the round duo minis. To connect the round duo minis, I'm going to pick up one of my 11s, 3 15, and that's in the Crystal Lab Full Color, and 1 11. Those 5 beads are going to be put between each of my round duo mini, catching on to the second hole that is there. It makes a little bump up between the geckos, and we're going to use that to pull in towards the middle in order to hold our Rivoli in place. So on goes that 11, 3 15s, 11, and through the next round duo mini. That's 2. I have to repeat this 5 more times to get a total of 7 in between each of my round duo minis. Once you're done adding in the last of that grouping of 5, you want to go back through the first round duo mini that your thread was coming out of when you started adding those 5 beads. And I want you to sew up through the 11 and the 3 15s that you have just put on. Let your needle exit through those 3 15s, and we're going to group around and kind of fold the little pikes that we just made, or those little peaks, towards one another. I want you to grab one of your 11 O seed beads, and we're going to sew around this outer edge, ignoring the 11 O's and just sewing through the 3 15s in each of that grouping of 5. So we're going to add 1 15 that'll pull towards the middle. I'm sorry, 1 11, sew through the 3 15s. 1 11, sew through those 3 15s. As you do that, start pulling in towards the center, which is going to relax the ginkgos a little bit, have them pull out towards the outer edge, and pull that netting in to hold our jet Rivoli in place. Upon exiting those 3 15-0 seed beads, I want you to go down through the 11-0 that sits right after them. Remember that first initial group of 5 beads. This is going to be the one that sits right before the round duo mini. Also sew through that first hole of the round duo mini. Sew through the second hole of that same round duo mini, which is going to reverse the thread, and the gray wildfire thread you will not see at all because I'm next to that gray bead. Reverse the thread going from the bottom hole to the top hole of the piece. Once you get that needle and thread to come out the top hole of that round duo mini, I want you also to sew through the first Ginkgo bead up through the top. So you're exiting the top of the Ginkgo. From here, we're going to get ready to add in our next layer of our Ginkgo beads to expand and get that nice golden lotus shape. Coming out the top of the Ginkgo bead, once you get up there, we are going to add our second layer of Ginkgos, adding it again just like we did the first, going through the bottom, coming out the top, adding 3 beads down through the other side of the Ginkgo, and then you're also going to go down through that next Ginkgo bead. Give a nice tight pull and make sure you don't have any extra thread showing. That should sit nicely nestled right there perfectly together. From here, we're going to add some seed beads and connect to the beads that are already there and get a little bit more of a decorative look along the front of the Ginkgos. Coming out through that Ginkgo, I want you to add 4 of your 15-0 seed beads. Go to the middle section of those groupings of 3 seed beads and sew through just that middle bead. After doing so, add 4 more of your 15s and sew up through the second side of that same Ginkgo bead. Once you're up through the Ginkgo, you are going to repeat that same process. Make sure after each Ginkgo, just kind of press it in to the middle there, up through the Ginkgo, add your 3 11-0s to the top, down through the Ginkgo, and then down through the Ginkgo already there. Once you're down through the Ginkgo already there, that's where you're going to add your 4 15-0 seed beads. Grab onto that middle 15-0 that's already there, right at the base, basically sitting at the point of the Ginkgo bead from the round 1 or that first rotation. Give a nice tight pull and repeat again. So you're going to end up with these little V's that sit almost looking like they're coming off of the center of all of those original 7 Ginkgo beads. By the time you're done this row, you will have your 14 Ginkgos onto the piece, and then we'll concentrate on getting the Rivoli into the back of the setting. So an optional addition to the design is to add a tassel. I'm currently coming out the top of the last Ginkgo that I got added, and I'm ready to add my 14mm Rivoli. You can use a 14 or a 12 for this. I'm going to be using a 14 in the jet color in that Potomac Crystal Rivoli. I've added onto my thread here 10 of my 15-0 seed beads, and this is in that silver color, and I'm going to sew through my tassel. From here, I'm going to sew through and down towards the center across to the next one of my Ginkgo beads. Give a nice tight pull, and that's just going to hang out right there at the bottom. On the opposite side then, I will make a little bail at the top too, and we'll do that after we go through and do the back. So you're just going to have it hang there. If you want to reinforce it, you can go back down through the tassel and reinforce that one more time along the link. There's also a lot of videos where you can decorate up the top of the tassel if you would want to add a little bit of the metal look there. From here, what we're going to do, coming out the back of that Ginkgo, is I'm going to bring my thread and needle, not sewing through anywhere, just bringing it to the back of the design. We're going to use this first kind of hole there of the round duo mini to hold and to catch on for our Rivoli. So I'm coming out of the Ginkgo, and with the metal ones, it's pretty heavy, which is awesome in my mind. And you're going to take this and sew right through that second hole of the round duo mini and out. And the needle might come out towards the front of the design. Just pull it back to the back. Again, not sewing through anything, just bringing the needle from the front towards the back. What we're going to do now is catch onto that second hole of those round duo minis and hold our Rivoli in place through just a nice kind of seed bead netting fashion. The first addition of seeds to the back is going to be coming out that round duo, adding in 10 of your 11 O's, skipping over one round duo and sewing through the second hole of the third one in line. This brings some seed beads right along the back there in a little loop fashion. Again, if you come out the back, or out the front, just bring your needle to the back of the design and out. From here, we're going to add another group of 10. So you have your grouping of 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and scoot over, again, skipping a round duo and going into that one here. Now this is an odd number, so I don't have the opportunity to make it nice and even. If you want to, you can do a whole netting. This is just a quick design for getting it into that back section. And what I'm going to do is group over and use 12 beads going from bead number 1 to bead number 4, which is going to be the first in my collection. I'm going to then get ready to slide my Rivoli kind of in place. We're going to seam these together, pinching them a little bit at the ends. So here's that Rivoli again, bringing my thread and needle from the back of the design, front of the design, just to the back, adding in my 12 beads. And then once I have those 12 beads on, I'm making like a little triangle to hold this in place. My Rivoli may slip out of here because I need to hold it up to get in between that round duo mini. Wiggle it through there. And then before you pull it tight, drop that Rivoli back in place underneath all of those seed beads that you just added. And then give a nice tight little pull. You can see that triangle there is holding everything kind of in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to string through and kind of connect these triangles in a ladder stitch fashion, the last 2 beads of each. Bringing your thread and needle out through the 2 beads, the first 2 beads along the back, I'm going to then skip over to the 2 next to it, and we're just going to do this little square stitch here. Go back into those 2 here. Along the side, if you want to, you could have added a 15 where that thread path is. Then take your thread and needle after those 2 11 seed beads back through this line of seed beads that you have strung, that initial line of 10. Give a nice little tight pull while doing that so it pulls those ladder stitch in. If you find that you have a smaller Rivoli or you have more kind of play going on, you can do more than 3 beads. And get to the next spot here. Skip from the row I'm just coming out of over to the other one. Again, go through 2 to 3 beads. Link on back to the other side, pulling those back in nice and tight. Really kind of pinching that in place. One more time will bring me back and have that Rivoli set in. Again, down to the end of the row. Grab back over here. Go through those 2. And through the 2 your thread was just coming out of. And do a nice little pinch. Give a little test to see if your Rivoli, if it wants to pop out the bottom. We definitely don't want that to happen. So if you are using a smaller Rivoli, what you may need to do, like I did in the example, was add basically a little loop along the bottom here. Come in here to the side. Come out after 3 beads. And just make basically one more Y, adding 4 of your 11 O's, sneaking down to this round duo mini here, through that second hole, just like we did when we were adding the beads at the original start. Again, if you kind of need to wiggle it, it might come out the front there. Bring it back to the back, not through any beads, and right back up towards the top there. From here, skip over, adding 3 beads, the back of the Rivoli there, or the back of the Ginkgo rather, go through that last round, or that second round duo mini, out through there, add 4 beads, and then catch back on to that grouping here, 3 beads up. And that then completely holds that in place. Now if I wanted to and make it kind of look identical at the top and the bottom, I could have made sure that my loop was down here at the bottom as I'm going around. If you're somebody that drives you crazy, go ahead and make sure to get that center in prior to doing so. What I'm going to do now is snake over some around to the top, absolute opposite of where my tassel is coming out of. So I'm going to follow my seed bead line over here to the side, and then bring my thread and needle towards the front of the piece through the design, so you don't see any extra thread showing. Beautiful little piece right there. You don't see any extra thread showing. Make sure you're going through thread lines that are already there. I'm going to go up through my Ginkgo and then over again, taking my thread and needle around the Ginkgos till I get to that top point. One option, if you would like to add more seed beads and get this to kind of sit nice and flat rather than a little bit domed like it is, what you can do is take seed beads the whole way along the outer edge, connecting and adding 3 seed beads between each seed bead. So you're doing 3 seed beads to that outer row and the whole way along, adding 3 at a time. That's going to arch seed beads the whole way around the outside. What I am going to do after coming out these 3 is, because that's where my bail needs to be, I'm going to create a bail just with my gold seed beads. 3 seed beads go on, and I'm going back through the 3 that are already here. You can use a wire guard, and you can do this bail situation here, which again, going through 3 there, add 3 more. This is ladder stitch or square stitch, going back through the 3 your thread was coming out of, and then going through the 3 that you just added. Do about 10 to 12 rows of these, and then we're going to finish up the bail by stitching the first one to the end. If you do want a wire guard or a soldered ring, go ahead and add those here as well in place of all of these seed beads that I'm adding along the design. Once you have the size bail that you want to, and I'll do just 2 more. You're going to roll that over, and we're going to connect it to that top bead. So you're going to connect your last row of this ladder stitch to that first row of 3 beads that sits directly on top of that very top Ginkgo bead. 3 more on. And then once my thread and needle are coming out of these last 3, I'm going to fold them over back down towards the start of the piece, going through those 3 right there that my thread was originally coming out of. Once I do that, it pulls my bail center, and I just need to connect back through those last 3 beads. Go back through those 3 one more time, and then I'm going to continue around in my circle, connecting and making a link between all of my beads. Again, you can keep it open like the example piece, or you can go around the whole way around in the circle, adding in 3 beads between each set of 3, connecting the whole way around this nice golden ginkgo pendant. Thanks so much for joining me in making this fun golden ginkgo tassel pendant. Remember, you can always include the tassel, use regular glass ginkgos, or use the Potomac metal ginkgos as well. If you do need any materials to help you out with this pendant, remember you can always click on the link below me in the description to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Always remember also to hit that little bell in the corner if you're not already subscribed, and do so you don't miss out on any great news from us here at Potomac Beads. As always, thanks so much for watching, and enjoy your new pendant.